People often ask me, what is the difference between a temporary restraining order and a final restraining order? A temporary restraining order, also known as a TRO, and a final restraining order, which is known as a FRO. First of all, I want to make the distinction that restraining orders, okay, under the Domestic Violence Act, which most times, they're not criminal, although they're quasi, or they sound like criminal, they're in the family court, the restraining orders I'm talking about. You typically don't get one like as a felony or as a misdemeanor crime. No, they're in the family court. Now what happens is, let's say I get into a fight, okay, it has to be, now there's certain characteristics to be a restraining order. It has to be a roommate, it has to be a boyfriend, it has to be a girlfriend, it has to be, you have a child in common, so to fall under there. Now, let's say I live with a woman and she beats me up and it's her house and we're living together and we have children. I go to the police and the police say, you can file a restraining order. It's actually in the family court. Now, with that restraining order, they can immediately throw her out of the house, even if it's her house. So I get a lot of people coming in here, they get thrown out of their houses until the final is heard. The law in New Jersey is, it's supposed to be within 10 days after the issuance of a temporary, the final has to be heard before a judge. It's actually a mini trial. So that's why restraining orders are very, very serious, and I never go to a restraining order without a good attorney. Never do it. It could have dramatic consequences. It stays on your record. You cannot get it expunged because it's technically not criminal, but it does show up on your record. It could stop visitation or change the whole dynamics of the parent of primary care. There's a lot of consequences. You do not want to get a final restraining order. So temporary is what it is. It's temporary. Then within 10 days, you go before a judge, you argue it out. The standard for restraining order is not beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a higher standard, which is actually better for a defendant. It's just preponderance. So if a judge thinks 51% you may have done these things and you get that temporary turns into a final. So all temporary restraining orders either turn into a final if you lose at a mini trial or hearing in a family court, or it gets dismissed and you don't want a restraining order on you. Very important, very serious. If you ever get hit with a temporary restraining order, you get a good attorney that can either get it dismissed or do the mini trial or the hearing, and do not get the final, get it dismissed.